Hello girlfriends, welcome to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Jody and it's great to have you join me today. Today we are doing one of my most popular brands, and that is the Affordable Drugstore series, where I take a look at products that are anywhere from $12 and under. My old rule used to be that it was $10 and under, but just with inflation and things like that, I did bump it up to $12. Generally, I still like to see things under $10, but this product that we're going to be looking at is falling far under that. And I have to say that this has been a pretty requested item to review, and so we are looking at none other than the Aussie Instant Freeze Sculpting Gel. Now, I know at one point this was all the rage, that this was something phenomenal as far as a really strong holding affordable gel. And then Aussie went and changed the formulation and it wasn't nearly a strong hold from what I understand. I've never tried like the first or the original, what do you want to call it, the original formulation. And I never tried the other formulation. I've heard that they've reformulated this again. Now, the one person that I'm referring to most when I'm thinking about this is Swavy Curly Courtney. I've seen her comment on this because I think she really loved the original formula at one point. But like I said, she didn't like the newer formulation. And then when they reformulated it, at one point I thought she said they put it back to the original formulation. But now more recently, I feel like she's kind of backtracked on that. I might be wrong. I might be misunderstanding. I don't know. I've never had any experience with this. I have done a video on the mousse. I've done one of Swavy Curly Courtney's routines. It wasn't like a typical review. It was more like I was trying another influencer's routine. And so that's where I used the Aussie Instant Freeze mousse. I have used it other occasions as well. And she is a stronghold mousse. But all that to say, we are going to be diving into this product. First off though, I want to give myself a little base. I don't want to just go in with nothing on my hair. So let me get my brush here, and I guess that really wasn't necessary, but I was just going to split the back here a little bit. But what I am going to choose to go in with though for a base for my hair, a little moisture, is the Aussie Hair Insurance Leave-In Conditioner. I have used this for years. It used to be one of my favorites. I will say I still enjoy it. I still like it, but I've just kind of not been gravitating towards it, not been using it nearly as much. And to be truthfully honest, for the most part, I like creams better than I like leave-in conditioners. I know that can be kind of controversial, having finer hair. They say leave-ins are lighter, and yes, I would agree, but I like the fact that a cream will give me a little bit more like sculpting, a little bit more, maybe sculpting is not the word, a little bit more curl control, a little bit more definition. I feel like if I brush style this in, it's not going to give me nearly as much curl pattern, I feel like, as a cream might help. But all that to say, I'm just going to brush style. Well, first of all, I'm just brushing to distribute that leave-in conditioner, and then I'm going to brush style that leave-in conditioner as well. So I am just brushing this leave-in conditioner through using my ribbon curl technique with, ooh, came across a little snag there. Happened to catch that on camera. Okay, as I was saying before I came across that knot, just brushing this through using my bounce curl brush with the ribbon curls technique. Now this gel is going to be a first impressions. I'm assuming it's a thicker gel, but I don't really know. I have not done anything, like I've not opened it at all. I've not like sniffed it, smelled it. Sniffed it sounds weird, but truly a first impressions. I am just going off of what I've heard other people talk about this gel, and I'm excited. Right now we are not experiencing the heat and humidity. I was hoping that would be the case. By the time you guys are seeing this, it's more likely to be that time. Right now it's early May, and I know that was the early anticipation. I've said before, I have to film my curly hair videos ahead of time, but we've had days that have felt like summer. I thought, okay, that'll be like closer to it. And this weekend I thought it was supposed to be nicer, but they kept changing the forecast as the weekend came. And so it's not nearly as summery feeling. Actually, we just had a little bit of sleet earlier, or maybe it was hail, I'm not really sure, but just little tiny little pellets of it. It's just been very rainy, but we're supposed to have sunshine this weekend, so we'll see. I guess the weather forecast doesn't really matter to you since we're not having, like I said, the true summer conditions. You don't need all the details probably. All right, just scrunching in as much as I can. Now I'm going to do what I typically do when I'm applying this gel. I'm going to apply it right side up, and I think I'm going to apply it flipped over as well. I feel like I get better application that way, but I want to make sure if this is a true hard hold gel, I'm thinking, is it something like the Not Your Mother's Curl Talk gel? Because if it is, I need to be careful with how much I go in with, okay? That's something that I really need to consider. So I've just roughly parted this, trying not to disturb my curl clumps. And now let's see. Oh, let's go over the specs of this. Let's get the information on this Instant Freeze Gel. This is the Aussie Instant Freeze Sculpting Gel. It retails for $4.97. Perfect for all hair types, whether you desire styling your curls, waves, or straight hair. Aussie Instant Freeze Sculpting Gel is your hair's new best friend. This hair styling gel gives you a look of strong hold no matter how humid it is. The directions say to place a dollop of the gel in your hands and work through your hair. Then style as high as your heart desires and indulge in the yummy fragrance. All right, let me make a quick correction because I feel like I've been saying Aussie incorrectly. I feel like I say it Aussie, but I've been corrected before and they say it's Aussie. So I apologize. I'm not Australian, so if I don't say it with the Australian accent, please forgive me. But let's take a look at this gel. Okay, a true thicker gel-like consistency. I'm going to just rub it in my hands and see. Okay, it's pretty smooth feeling though. It feels like it's going to go on pretty well. There's definitely some tack there, but not like overly sticky. I am going to get a little bit more on my hands because when I do that, like testing the tackiness with my hands, I feel like it kind of, I don't want to say dries down, but kind of disappears in my hands a little bit. Okay, just try and glaze it all over. I will worry about scrunching it when I turn upside down, which is what I'm going to be doing here in a minute. All right, I will say that this does have a nice sweet perfumed fragrance, but it probably will seem strong to some people. To me, it's okay. I don't know. We'll see if like I notice it once it's already dry. All right, I'm going in with this amount more. I have some on both of these fingers here. Even though this is kind of a thicker gel, like it's not so thick that you need water to distribute it, I don't think. I do think my hair could stand to be a little bit more wet though while scrunching this in, because this may give me more stringy curls if it's not. So let me go in with a little bit more water. I'm not going in with the water to distribute the product. I'm going in with the water to clump my curls. Okay, just gonna kind of smooth that water over my hair and then scrunch. Yeah, I like that sound better. A little bit of the squishy sound. All right, I'm just gonna scrunch like crazy and probably fast forward through this part. All right, what do we think of these curl clumps here? I mean, it's hard to judge on my hair when it's wet. I've said that before. It really is difficult to tell. The best test is to just diffuse your hair and see, you know, how it comes out. I'm not like overly wowed at this point by my curl definition, but I'm not terribly concerned about it either, if that makes sense. So I'm going to put my wet plop on. So now that my wet plop is in place, I will address a few questions. I do have a lot of questions about why I choose to wet plop my hair. In my previous video, my diffusing routine, I do talk about why I choose to wet plop my hair, and I feel like I go into pretty good detail on it, but also I feel like I plan on making a short. I might even have that out already, just talking about why I choose to wet plop my hair. So I will have those videos linked up in the cards and down below if I have already done them. If I haven't, then just stay tuned, okay? But I will say, yes, I have chosen to wet plop my hair, and I've also chosen not to wet plop my hair with like the same routine otherwise, and I just prefer the wet plop look better. I just feel like my curls are juicier, bouncier, just fuller looking curls, more full hair in general. And I do a disposable shower cap, and I do a like a reusable shower cap. The disposable one is to keep the product and gunk and most of the wetness up in that. And then my reusable one is just to keep the hair lifted up off my head, or not lifted up off my head, I'm sorry, lifted from falling back behind or off to the sides and stuff like that, because this disposable shower cap just won't do that. So that's a quick in the nutshell type deal. But if you want more information, like I said, check out those videos as well. Now I'm gonna let this sit on, this wet plop sit on for about 10 to 15 minutes, I should say. I'll diffuse my hair and I'll be back and I'll show you the results. All right, friends, are we ready for the results? Let's pull this hair forward and take a look at it, okay? Let's get a look at both, if I could talk, look at both the sides here and the underside. And then I'll show you the back as well, and then we'll get into more of the details. All right, I'm going to flip my part over on the other side. And oh, when I do that though, this hair likes to fall right in my face. So I have this one patch here that just wants to keep falling. I did have some like really big curl clumps. You could kind of see, like those are pretty big curl clumps for my front section. But let's take a look at my hair overall. So I have decent definition. It's not my most spiral pattern. I think some of that has to do with the fact of just brushing in that leave-in conditioner. That leave-in conditioner is lightweight. It's great in that sense, but it just doesn't enhance the curls. It doesn't just bring out any curl pattern necessarily. And just scrunching the gel over top, once again, kind of doesn't do that either. So how am I trying to say this? If I don't have like a much curl enhancement with my base styling product and then I'm just glazing the gel over, I don't expect as much spiral. And like I said, the weather, we don't have the humidity. My hair tends to spiral more in the humidity. Right now it's like 40 some degrees and it feels like winter. And so it's just, it looks good for the volume. There's minimal frizz. There is some frizz throughout. You're going to have that, but there's minimal frizz, I would say. I just have a lot of volume. I feel like I have a lot of fullness to my hair. It does almost tend to look a little bit stringy, so I wonder if I should have gone in with a little bit more water. That's just my thoughts. Maybe I got a little too much product down on the ends and everything like that. The top doesn't look stringy at all, but I feel like maybe I gotten a little heavy-handed on the product at the base. As far as the moisture, this gel doesn't feel drying necessarily, but it doesn't feel moisturizing. So if you're a person that needs more moisture in your routine, you're definitely going to have to make sure that you go in with something underneath of this. I don't think it's recommended to use this gel as a single styler. That's just my opinion so far, at least. I am really appreciating the volume. Like I said, I have lots of volume, I have lots of fullness, and I was really surprised by that. One thing also I will note that I was surprised by is I didn't really have much of a cast. There was maybe ever so slightly, just a little bit of a cast as I was diffusing my hair, but the more dry my hair got, like there was nothing, and it felt rather soft. So it still feels pretty soft. So I was like, I don't know. I was expecting something more like the Not Your Mother's Curl Talk, the Stronghold gel. And so far, this really hasn't been the case. This one is a lot more soft than that one. There's not the cast there. It's not to say that there's no hold. We're going to test the hold up. We're going to see how it works or how it holds up till tomorrow. I do feel like there is hold to my hair, even though I caught it on my fingernail here. I need to fix that. I have a split in my fingernail and it's caught in my hair. But like I was saying, I do feel hold to my hair. It just feels softer. So I do feel structure. I guess that's how I would equate it or describe it. But it still feels like softer than the Not Your Mother's Curl Talk one. I feel like I want to wait till tomorrow and just see how this holds up. I do plan to go to the gym, give this a good run for its money. I don't think I'll be running, but I do want to work up a sweat, just kind of see how this holds up. And then whatever other wear and tear I do on during the day. And I'll check back in 24 hours and just see what this gel has given us. Okay, curl friends, I am back for day 2 using the Aussie Instant Freeze. I about said the wrong thing. The Aussie Instant Freeze Gel. And let's take a look at what my results look like. We'll take a look at the back here as well. All right, so now that we were able to see what my hair looks like, let's go over the details of my hair and what my thoughts are. I do think that I still have pretty good definition. There is minimal frizz. I do have this patch I noticed this morning of frizz, and you're not gonna see it unless like I really try to show it off. And the camera probably isn't gonna pick it up super well, but there's this patch right here that's just kind of frizzed out right in the back of my neck. And to be truthfully honest, it's because it's cold, I feel like, and I've had warmer stuff on. I've had sweaters on. I've had, earlier today, I had my thick robe on and everything. So it's just probably frizzed out there. And also, I did go to the gym yesterday too, and I did work up a little bit of a sweat. So, you know, that's going to happen. But overall, I feel like this has held up really good. I still have really good definition, and I feel like some of the areas that I felt like looked more stringy yesterday initially kind of softened up and looked less stringy as the day went on. And so I still feel that way today. Is it my super most soft and fluffy wash and go? No, it's not. But I still think it looks, I actually like day 2 results better than I like day 1. I still have a decent amount of volume. My curls still feel pretty soft, but there's still a structure to my curls though that keeps them clumped up better, keeps them from falling out or frizzing up as much. It just keeps them in the curl families more. Now my hair does feel a tad bit more dry today, but I'm not really concerned about that. I don't think that this, I said this before, I don't think that this is a drying gel. I just don't think it's a moisturizing gel. So just go in with the appropriate moisture that you need underneath. I could easily put a cream underneath this and not have a problem. If you have finer hair, a softer finish, a finish that gets really weighed down, I feel like this would probably actually be a pretty good gel for you because I still have lots of volume. I remember trying the Aussie volume gel and I was not impressed with the volume necessarily on that. And that had like, I remember having a pretty frizzy hair and everything like that. I've actually gotten rid of that gel just because it's not something that I reach for and I really didn't like my results or anything with it. But this gel, I feel like has just held up more to volume type standards, what I had hoped for that volume gel. So even though this is a thicker gel, I think it can work well for finer hair. If you have more coarse, more dry hair, you know, maybe use this sparingly. Like I said, go in with the appropriate moisture that you need underneath. It may lessen the hold though, if you go in with more moisturizing products. So that's just something to experiment, to play around with. But for $4.97, I don't feel like you're out too much if you find that it just doesn't work out for you. One thing I did want to touch on yesterday with this gel that I didn't was the ingredients. I know I'm not like a big ingredients expert or anything like that, but there are some things that I look for. The first ingredient is water. Okay, that's nice. That's pretty common to have. Then there's laureth 25, and then there's polyquaternium 4. Then there's fragrance, and then there's a benzyl alcohol, a hydro, something with a long name. Okay, further down, I'm just going to skip down, closer towards the end of the list. It's really not a long ingredients list, to be truthfully honest. You can look it up online or look it up in the store when you're there. But about 2/3 of the way down the list, there is another copolymer. So the polyquaternium 4 is going to help seal in your hair. It's going to offer a little bit of hold, and the copolymer is also going to help offer hold. Those are the main things that I wanted to point out in the ingredients, just because I do like to see those holding agents in there. And the fact that it isn't a long ingredients list lets me believe that it's a little bit more concentrated, although to be truthfully honest, I don't know the formulation. Like I said, my hair does feel softer, but it does offer a surprising amount of hold, just letting my curls keep their shape. I will say there are some areas that they are stretched out a little bit, like this piece here. I don't know how well, I don't think the camera's picking it up, but there's just one scraggly piece here. Not sure, we might trim her so she just blends in a little bit more. It's okay, it's actually one of these side pieces here, and sometimes those can get pretty loose easily, and she's just not the most defined and everything like that. There was another piece that I saw earlier and I can't see it now at this point, but it kind of had a similar effect. There was curl, and then there was like the straight bottom to it. So it's not something that I get all the time, but occasionally I will see that happen. Could it be my diffusing process? It could be. I'm not blaming it on this product necessarily. It could be diffusing, it could be brush styling. It could be a lot of things. Overall though, I really do like this gel, and I will definitely be trying this out again more in the summer heat and humidity. I think I should do a short on that, just looking at what this product gives when it's really hot and humid and just testing it that way. So I hope to do that. Keep me accountable. Remind me to do that later. We might be waiting till like July. I feel like July and August are our most humid months here where I live. June could be hot too, but it just doesn't have quite the same intensity. But like I said, I'd love to do that short for you in the future. So let me know, what do you think about this gel? Do you think this is something that you're interested in, or have you tried it? Have you tried the old version versus this version that they currently have, and what do you think of it? Do you notice a difference? I'd love to hear your response to that. Like I said, I have no experience with the prior formulations or anything, but if you have that information and be willing to share it with us, that would be very helpful. And speaking of helpful, it would be very helpful if you would hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything and it just helps my channel out. And until I see you again in the next video, have a great day. Bye.